If you are a church pianist or you love to improvise on hymns, come join me each week for a hymn improvisation series as we take an individual hymn, break it down in sections, and we look at right hand improvisation ideas, left hand improvisation ideas. And each week I will have a visual that will show you what I am demonstrating in the video so that you can visually see the new ideas. I'd encourage you to have your hymn book so that you can also look at the hymn and learn to recognize those ideas that I'm teaching you in this series. If these hymn improvisation tips are helping you, make sure to save this video, like it, and share it with your friends. So let's get started today improvising on a hymn. Today we're going to look at Since I Have Been Redeemed, and we're going to mostly focus on left hand today, talking about finding a interesting left hand bass motion. We're really going to be using a lot of octave scale motion on this verse. And I'm going to kind of walk you through how I chose this specific bass pattern. What was I looking for? What did I see in the original hymn that spurred that idea? You can get the free handout of this verse, and it has what I'm going to be talking about, so you can visually see what my left hand is doing on paper, as well as watch me do it through this video. So grab that handout on our website and then grab a hymn book, and let's take a look at just the verse and really focusing on just the left hand for today, and kind of going with a little bit more of this bass scale work idea. So as I'm looking through a hymn, here's a few things that I'm looking for right away. And these are things that I have my students try to recognize. One would be an interesting bass motion already. So some hymns, the bass will have an interesting motion already put into the hymn. Now for Since I Have Been Redeemed, there's really not much going on in the bass line. If you look at your hymn book, we're going to have this bass line. So if you notice, pretty much we're staying on this F for a while, and that will continue. We'll do the same thing on the next line, and then in the chorus, and then on the chorus we're going to go from F to C and back and forth. So really not much interest going on here. Now there is one measure where we have a little bit of motion, and that's the second measure, and we have this motion here, C, E, F. So that is something that I might want to utilize, and we'll talk about how to utilize that idea right there. The second thing I'm looking for is in the alto line, is there any point where the altos and the sopranos walk together in thirds? So if we notice in the very first phrase, I have a song I love to sing right in there on song, they're walking in thirds. So that is a great place where I can find a really nice bass motion. And so that's where we're going to start today. So with that in mind, as I'm starting with those thirds, my left hand is going to be doing octaves for this whole first verse because we're really focusing on some octave scale work. And so my left hand is going to follow the alto note. So the alto note there on the word song, F, G, A, B flat, A, G, F. And my left hand is going to be playing that alto note. Now on the word love, we're going to change it up a little bit, but for that first little part, song, I love, I'm playing the alto note in my bass hand as an octave. Now my right hand, I'm going to play octaves as well with a chord in the middle. So this would be considered a 4-note chord in my right hand. I'm going to play the melody as an octave and fill the chord in. So when I put that together, my hands, if we take out any chords in the middle, we're walking in thirds as octaves. So now if I add the chord into my right hand, so I'm going to take that bass pattern. Now when I get to that second measure on the word love, notice, remember we said we're going to look at that bass and use that bass as an idea. So if you notice, the bass pattern in the hymn book is C, E, F. Well, we're going to continue walking up in eighth notes, and on the word love, I'm going to walk to the E, skip back down to C, and then play the F. So if I start on the word song, my bass motion is let's start from the beginning. Let's put that into context. Now, right away to start off on a pickup measure, which this song starts on a pickup beat. We start on beat 4, not beat 1. The word I is beat 4. So instead of playing that chord right there would be an F chord on that pickup beat. Instead of playing an F in the bass, I'm going to play the 5 of F. So here's my F chord. The 5 of F is C. I'm going to play a C in the bass. And I'm going to play a C7 in my right hand. So that's going to be my pickup measure or my pickup beat. And then on the word have, we have an F chord. So I'm going to outline that chord going down to set myself up for what we just talked about, walking in thirds. Walk it up to that E, skip down to C, and now we're on that F. Let's put it into context. Okay? Now, that's something that I was looking for in the hymn. Now, if I have places where maybe there isn't much going on in the hymn that I want to use, here's some different ideas. On the next measure where we just left off, I have a song I love to. On the word sing, we have an F chord, and we're going to stay F for quite some time. So I'm going to take on that word, the word sing, and the next beat, so beat 3 and beat 4, I'm going to do a bass outline of my F chord. So my F chord, F, A, C, and I'm going to outline that chord going down because I just did a motion coming up. So now I'm going to go the opposite direction. And I'm going to outline it and add one extra note in there, a G. This would be an F2 chord. And that will land me on F on beat 1 in the next measure. So I'm outlining that chord. And you can do that in various ways. I'm doing it with eighth notes. You can do it with quarter notes. You can do it with triplets. It's really dependent on you. But I was setting up this eighth note pattern. And then we're going to break away from it briefly. We're going to break away from all that motion for a minute. And then this next measure here on measure 3, we're going to take a little bit more of a rhythmic pattern. And we're going to do a eighth note, quarter note, eighth note, quarter note pattern. So I have been, and then we're going to, instead of going down to C, walking down to it, we're going to walk up to it. So on that measure there, if you notice in your hymn book, measure 3, we have an F chord for the entire measure. So what I'm doing here is I'm leaping from a low F up an octave, stepping it down, and I'm choosing to play a C chord here. I'm taking a little bit of liberty by slightly reharmonizing it, and then I'm going to walk up from an A, which is a part of my F chord, to the C. And we're on the C chord for the entire measure, so we're going to walk up that C to the third, which is E, and do triplets coming down. I had 4 beats there, and so I needed to fill that time, and instead of doing a run the entire measure, which we could, I decided to do some quarter notes to vary the rhythm we were doing, and then on this E, running that down back to F to be there by beat 1 of the next measure. So I needed triplets to do that. I had 2 beats. Triplet da 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 da. And now this next phrase is very similar to the first phrase. So we're going to do similar ideas. Same kind of concept down here. Walking it up. And here's where we're going to change it slightly because now the phrase is slightly changing. Our next measure, we have an F chord, And in the hymn book where you see of my Redeemer, Savior, King, since I, if you notice that word, we're in this inversion of the F chord. This is our second inversion. C is on the bottom. So what I'm going to do, instead of staying on an F in my bass, I'm going to triplet up to the C in the bass, pull back that rhythm that we chose in measure 3, that 1 and 2, and then use triplets going down to F. So let's put all of that in context and let you hear what this sounds like. Now in my right hand, I'll be using a variety between a 4-note chord and a 3-note chord. And I have a few little ideas in there that you can add. We change registers one time and jump back down, really focusing on getting a nice, clean, solid left hand. Right hand is just going to be pretty basic. And so there you have it, a left-hand bass motion idea. Don't forget to grab the handout, your hymn book, and use that to help you as you walk through. And try these ideas on a different hymn, locating some of the concepts that we talked about today.